Shalom Aleichem. This Sicha, Vzos Habrocho Aleph, is just unreal, unbelievable. Interesting, both Sichas of Vzos Habrocho, 1 and 2, start off from the same place very much, and they go in different directions. One was said in Tafshel Lamed Gimel, 1972, and one was said in Tafshel Lamed Daled, 1973 on Simchas Torah. So let's start with the first one, Vzos Habrocho Aleph, Simchas Torah. It says in the Rambam, based on the Gemara, Mishnah, that Moshe established for the Am Yisrael that they will read in every Chag, in every Yom Tov, in Yanai, its topic. And what do they read? He goes through everything, and then he says on the Yom Tov Achron of Sukkot Shmini Atzeres, we read Kol HaBechor, and on Simchas Torah we read Vzos Habrocho. Now, why do we read Vzos Habrocho on that day, on the last day of Sukkot? So the Machzor Vitri, who's a student of Rashi, he says you want to put Simchas Torah next to another Simchas Yom Tov. So it's a double Simcha, and it says a lot of times Simcha regarding the Chag Sukkos. So therefore you put it together. But the Rebbe says from the fact that the Rambam says that it's not only combined to Sukkos like the Machzor Vitri, but that it follows the idea that it's the concept within the laning is connected to the day, to the theme. Obviously, Vzos Habrocho has something to do with the theme of the day. So other than the fact you're actually finishing the Torah with that, and it happens to be the last parsha, is there a connection to the theme? So the Rebbe puts that aside, and we go back to that at the end of the Sicha. And then the Rebbe goes, just beautiful, sorry. It's a famous question in Chassidus. Oida Torah. It's a Tzadik, and then it's developed also by the Tzadik Rebbe, by the Rebbe Rashab. What's the connection between Simchas Torah and happiness with the Torah? Why are you happy for the Torah on this random day, on Chav Gimel Tishrei? Shavuos is the time that the Torah was given. Hayom HaKagoyim, that's the day. That's the day that changed us, right? It's Matan Torah. And Chassidus explains that the Simcha of Simchas Torah is for the Luchos Shnias, for the second Luchos, which we got on Yom Kippur. And Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, is the last day of after Yom Kippur. Basically, Yom Kippur, you're focusing on the fast. Then the next 4 days, you're preparing for Sukkot. Then you're focusing on Chag HaSukkos. And finally, you have an opportunity, the last day of Yom Tov, to celebrate the Kabbalas HaTorah that Moshe Rabbeinu came down on the mountain after 120 days with the Luchos Shnias. So Luchos Shnias brings Simcha. Now, we know that Chassidus, Pnimius HaTorah, and Nigla, Gufa the Torah, are combined. It's the Guf and the Neshama of the same thing. So we have to understand what is the question according to Nigla. We just asked the question, the Chassidus says, why is Simchas Torah Shmini Atzeres? But is that question valid according to Nigla based on the fact that we just said, we know that that's the day that you finish Torah. So is there validity to this question, Mitzat Torah? So the Rebbe says, yes, because even if the fact that you do finish the Torah on Simchas Torah, nevertheless, Chag HaShavuos is the time that was Matan Torah Seinu. And Rashi says in the name of the Psad Yagoin that in Aseres Hadibus you have all the Taryag mitzvahs. So by Zman Matan Torah on Shavuos you were given. So even if we happen to finish the Torah each year on Simchas Torah, but the Simcha Shel Torah should be when you got it, because you have the whole thing. And he brings from an interesting medrash where Hashem told Shlomo Melech, you want Chachma, you want wisdom? Here's the wisdom. Shlomo wakes up, v'hinei chaloim, it's a dream. What does Rabbi Yitzchak comes and says in the Medrash? Chaloim haya. There was a dream where suddenly he would stand and hear a donkey make its sound, and he would understand what the donkey was saying. And a chirp of the bird, and he could understand what the bird is saying. And he comes to Yerushalayim, and he brings karbanos, and he makes a big party. And Rabbi Lozer says, from the fact that you see that he made a party after he got this insight, you learn that you make a Seudah L'Gemara Shel Torah, which is, by the way, an interesting source. That's why you have to make a Simcha when you finish Torah. And the Rebbe quotes from interesting, the Arzarua and the Beis Yosef even, that this is the source for the minhag that you make Simcha and Simchas Torah for finishing Torah. That Shlomo HaMelech had this, epiphany, and he got the wisdom. Now, the truth is, in that time, he didn't unpack all his wisdom yet. He just got the Nakuda. And nevertheless, he made the celebration then. So why do we have to wait till we finish the whole Torah to make a celebration? I mean, we make a celebration even when we finish one Masechta. And if each year on Chag Shavuos you get all the Giluyim, all the revelations again, Zman Matan Torah, you call it Matan Torah, that should be the time that you celebrate Torah. Comes to Rebbe and says the difference between Chag Shavuos and Shmini Atzeres is, as we said, one is Luchas Rishonos and one is Luchas Shnius. Now, so basically, now that we explain this question according to Nigla, why do you have to celebrate it? I mean, even though, yes, you got the second Luchas, but seemingly the first Luchas are the stronger, more important. He says, no. Luchas Rishonos was Matana, was given as a gift. Luchas Shnius, however, or rather, what we're doing at Shmini Atzeres is that we actually learned the Torah. Shmini Atzeres, we're coming and saying, not that, oh, by the way, I got a Torah. No, I spent the last 12 months going through the entire Torah. And you could only have Simcha when it's not the famous expression, Nama de Chisufa, bread of shame. Yeah, you got Shavuos, you got a gift. I didn't do anything for it. When's the Torah? When I learned to, that's when the Simcha is in. And here the Rebbe says in the brackets, the Rebbe says, even the guy that doesn't know what he's saying, the lo yada mai ka'amar, and in the shtetl they used to define, like in the old country, the time of the Baal Shem Tov, they used to say about a certain amar, it's a lo yada mai ka'amar, he doesn't know what he's saying. And here the Rebbe gives just on the side, like this beautiful insight. Lo yada, he doesn't know my what ka'amar he's saying, but ultimately he's saying it. He doesn't know what he's saying, but he's saying it. That's his avodah. But at least he had an avodah. But on Chag Shavuos, it's big revelations. I didn't do anything. Now the Rebbe says like this: if it's a gift and it's giving me something that on my own potential I would never achieve, then I'm not embarrassed and I get it. I know I'm not shaykh to get it. But if you're gifting me with something that technically I'm shaykh to get there from myself, then I don't have a simcha when you give me the gift. I want to work for it. And therefore, when do we celebrate it? When you worked for it. Men, women, children, everybody. Even the smallest child. The smallest child could ask the same question. Why are we celebrating Simchas Torah and not Shavuos? And what could we tell him based on what we said? Look at you, you're a child. We're teaching you Torah. Are you fully understanding it? No. When you're older, you'll understand and you'll have much more geschmack. So too. Shavuos, we get it. But when are we sameach? When we enjoy it, when we learned it, when we yada my kama or kama. Now, that's why we celebrate on Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah when you finish it, even according to Nigla. Now, this fits with what it says in various Maimorim, that the reason of Simchas Torah and Shmini Atzeres is because of the Luchas Achronos that were given on Yom Kippur. In other words, till now we were just talking about, in general, that on Shmini Atzeres, we learned the whole year. But how does it connect to the fact that then was Luchas Shnius? Because what's the fundamental difference between Luchas Rishonos and Luchas Shnius? Luchas Rishonos was given a gift. Luchas Shnius, we have to work for, we have to do tshuva. As it says in Chazal, he brings the source of the Gemara in Eidavin, that ilmole in the nishtaber luchas harishonos, if the luchas harishonos had never been broken, Torah would never be forgotten from Am Yisrael, and no nation would ever be able to control us. So on the one hand, it's awesome. On the other hand, what did we develop in this luchas shnius? The union of Yegiya and Torah, Halavanya, working, struggling, understanding, Geshmak. In other words, in the words of Chassidus, Matan Torah was our Yashar, was direct light. Avodas Tzadikim, direct light. Luchas Shnius was our Chayzer, the light that goes through a bit of a circumvent way, but on the other hand, it's effort. So this connects very much to the theme that we're saying that Shmini Atzeres is the time that you finish the Torah through your own effort. Now, those Maimarim bring another point. We just referenced it, but they unpack it more. That Luchas Rishonos referred to the level of Tzadikim, and Luchas Shnius referred to level of Baal Teshuva. We were all fantastic. But Luchas Shniyas is Baal Teshuva. And we dafka have the Simcha when we get the Torah to the level of Baal Teshuva. Because that is Kiruv Haba Achad. That's closeness that comes after distance. And this connects also to what we said at Simchas Torah, that you finish Torah by your work, not by the fact that you got a gift. And we could explain this, and over here the Rebbe goes into just beautiful idea, the difference between a Tzadik and a Baal Teshuva. Unreal. It says like this. The difference between a Tzadik and a Baal Teshuva is in two. First of all, how they work with themselves and on their impact to the world. How they work on themselves, a Tzadik was born perfect. So he's just living his life. He's doing it naturally. Mitzat Teva. However, the Baal Teshuva, that's not his Teva. He sinned. He did something wrong. So now he comes back and then he learns it's a tremendous effort. It's not a natural thing. It's b'cheiliyati, sagi. It's an incredible effort. So that's the difference with the way they work with themselves. And then there's a difference in the way they impact the world. Just like we said that the tzaddik just reveals the keiches that was given to them, so too the home that they make for Hashem in this world is not. They're not transforming anything. They're just bringing energy, bringing positive light. But they're not taking something out of darkness and elevating it. They're just bringing something, the potential. So there's still room for bread of shame by the Avodah of Tzadik. Why? Because ultimately, he didn't do much effort. All he's doing is just, he's on cruise control. He's letting his energy flow out. But the Baal Teshuva, that he is turning things over so much so that zdoinos, that things that he did b'mezid intentionally, not only do they become unintentional, but they become mitzvahs, naslik zachiyos. Literally, he's taking gimel klippus hatmeis, the lowest of the low, and transforming it to Yiddish, to get l'chait, to godliness. So this isn't only revelation, this is transformation. The tzaddik was revealing what already was. I'm taking something that was pure darkness and I'm transforming it into something entirely new. So where is there no bread of shame? Dafka by the Baal Teshuva. The tzaddik has bread of shame. The Baal Teshuva doesn't. Because he literally did something transformative. So now we connect the two pshat. And we said that the first explanation was that Shmini Atzeres, you do it because you made the effort, and that connects to what we just said. That's the level of Baal Teshuva, versus Shavuos, which is the level of a tzaddik, and that is that you just given the gift. So this is the combination of the two. But I have to say, pause. This is Levi Avtzon's Torah selection going on. What's the Rebbe saying? The famous Sicha of Chesnis and Tashnan Aleph Tudal says you can't do what you can. So you look at the Rebbe, you look at the Tzadik, and you say the same, but they could do it. Now, I don't know, is the Rebbe referring to himself over here? Maybe not. Don't stone me. But what's the Rebbe saying? It's tough. It's tough to us, complicated, compromised human beings, with all our issues, that we have power to transform in a way that Tzadik doesn't. And Dira B'Tachtonim is dafka accomplished that. And this also explains why we go out and we try to reach out to Yidden who aren't necessarily from yet. Because where's the true transformation going to happen? Dafka in them, more than even us. In other words, the lower the person is and the more they have to, unpack themselves, the more they have to uplift themselves. The more transformation is, the less nama de chisufa is, and the more dir b'tachtonim is accomplished. Cut. Back to the Sicha. Now we understand the connection between the Vzos Habrocho and the theme of the Yom Tov. What does Vzos Habrocho talk about? It's an inheritance without effort. But then that's the way the parsha starts. But what does it finish off? Le'enei Kol Yisrael, and the famous Rashi that says That's what happened in front of the eyes of all Am Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchas, and the Eibusher tells him, Yashakoyach Asher Shibarta. And what does that reference? You broke the first ones, and now you bring the second ones. So the first ones was my Rasha, the matana given to you. Now it's through Avodah. So the end of the parsha references the power of the luchas shniyos. So now you come to Shmini Atzeres. After the 7 days of Sukkot, we know that Sukkot is all about downloading into the internal, into the pnimius, all the light and the energy of the original days of Tishrei. So now the Torah finally shines in the Bedul Kechatzmei. Now that you had Yom Kippur, and then you had the 7 days of Sukkot downloading that inspiration. Now you're fully ready. You come the ultimate level of revelation. And he references in the Torah that talks about Yom Kippur and Zayin Yimei Sukkos is the Torah in the way of makif. It's like surrounding you like a chuppah. And Shmini Atzeres is the finishing of the chas. It's the yichud. It's when it's now niklat b'pnimis. It now goes into eternally. And over there, and it explains that this happens through tshuva. Therefore, the first luchas Rishonos was never fully digested. The klita wasn't fully digested. That's why they could serve with the egel hazor. But through tshuva, you finally get the Shmini Atzeres, you get the klita. And therefore, after you finish all this, you start B'deishis Balakim Hashemayim Asad. That's because through the avodah of a person, through learning Torah b'keich atzmei, through their own effort, and dafka the way of a Baal Teshuva, which is not only their own effort, but it's a keich of ischachus renewal, something new entirely. They become a partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ma'aseh Beishis, where literally they're partnering with Hashem, and they're equal partners. And therefore, the Tzadik, whose main job is to just reveal what already is potential, it's not a true partnership. The Tzadik doesn't have a real partnership with David. No, it's not a complete partnership because he's just doing the easy stuff. When you do b'keich atzmai and leifin of ischachus, and you're doing something that you're transforming from a negative to a positive, from a world that gives displeasure to Hashem to a world that gives pleasure, you become similar to the Boida, you become a shutaf b'shleimus like Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you pashut see in this person Hashem Elikei Yisrael Melech Malchusei B'Kol Mashallah, and the person does their mission as well. Unbelievable! What a sicha! What a sicha! Gosh, good kebench tiara Kabbalah Satayra, the Simcha of the Pnimius. You say on Shavuos, definitely it should be on Simchas.